Right. And let me open this. One is okay. And this one we also have to change it. Right. Okay. So now let me have the controls. Also the controls. Okay. Right. So again, guys, so whenever you're doing any or whenever you're inserting any values in the table or whenever you're doing any transactions from the application, so in the back end, it will generate a transaction, and that transaction from your application to your database log file, it will go first, and then it will store temporarily in the log file. And once the transaction is committed means what, guys? Committed means writing the data to the data file permanently is called committed. Commit. Commit means, for example, we are using Notepad. Imagine we are using some Notepad, guys. So we just entered something. We just entered something. Okay. So this was like temporarily we just stored here, right? It's not permanent storage. Temporarily we just stored. So when I'm just going to close it, it will ask you three options. It will give you three options. One is you want me to save it or don't save it or cancel it. Okay. So save means what? Whatever we just typed here, that I can save permanently in the event of your system reboot. I can get the data if I saved this permanently. Is it correct, guys? True, right? So if I saved the data permanently, whenever you restart the machine, I can still get the data. Why? Because this was stored in the disk permanently. Until you delete, you can get the data when you save the data permanently. If I don't save it, I may lose this data. Definitely, I'll lose this data. So this is called temporarily we are storing. So if you just use Control S, Control plus S, okay, it is going to save the document. So what is that Control S, guys? It is saving permanently. So commit is a kind of a Control S, okay, for the database, guys. Commit is a kind of a Control S. Whenever you are typing something, it's a big document, what you will do? If you're typing something and if it's a big document, what you will do, guys? For every 1 minute
Always
or
save.
2 minutes, yes. So for 1 minute or 2 minutes or 5 minutes, at least you will try to save it. Why? Because suddenly, if your laptop is now, see, suddenly my laptop is rebooted, right? Stopped. So in case if I don't save it permanently, there is a chance of losing the data. So here the data, whatever data is coming from the application, the transaction will be stored in the log file temporarily. Guys, in the log files, we can see the transaction. Transaction means complete details with LSN number, transaction ID, and this one, at what time it came, when it came, date and time, okay, on which database it was inserted or on which database it was running, and what is the values, what is the transaction statement. So all these details will be there in the log file, but when it was committed, only the data will be stored in the data file. So once the data is moved to the data file permanently, there is no use of this transaction. So SQL Server will truncate this transaction. What is the meaning of truncate, guys? It will delete the transaction until just you understand, like delete. There is a difference between delete, truncate and all. I'll tell you, drop, delete, truncate. There is an interview question that will be discussed. So once it was, why? Because this is a disk. Permanently it was written to the disk. So once the transaction is written to the disk permanently, once the transaction that instead of using written to the disk permanently, we'll use one word called commit. Once the transaction is committed, then the same transaction will be wiped out from the log file. So in this way, the log file can be reusable for incoming transactions. Is it clear, guys? The usage of data file and log file, why we will have two files and all. Is it clear, everyone?
Yes, Shanmugh.
Okay. So every database, this is the default behavior. When you create a database, we'll get minimum two files. In those minimum two files, one is data file, permanently storage area. Second one is log file, temporary storage area. So any transaction, first it will goes to your log file only. Any transaction, first it will goes to your log file. Once the data is committed, once the transaction is committed, then the values that are there in that particular transaction will be moved to the data file. Data file means permanently written to the disk. So in this scenario, it won't be deleted, guys, unless and until if you delete it manually, the record won't be deleted. So you have to write a delete statement to delete this record. Until then, this will be written to the data permanently. So this is the use of the log file and data file, guys. So when you are creating any database, yes, please.
In the log file, the transactions automatically will be deleted, or we need to, like, it's
Yes,
a temporary
automatically it will be
storage.
deleted. Truncated. There is a concept called truncate. I'll tell you in what scenarios and all the log file will be truncated. There are some scenarios like when you take the log file, when checkpoint runs, okay, when checkpoint runs and all, the server is also stopped. Okay. So checkpoint means like we are
I have doubt. So in this only we have some rollback of forward and coming, right?
sorry,
Here,
your voice is not clear, Nizu.
am I audible now?
Yes.
Here only we have rollback, roll forward.
Here only we have
Some laser.
your voice is kind of breaking, not clear. I can hear you, but it's not clear.
Okay, I'm
You
not
can
sure.
you can type it, no issues. You can type in the chat, no issues. Okay.
Is these memories are physical memories or just
Physical, yes, physical only. That's what like the data will be written to the data file, the disk. The disk means the physical operations will be performed on the disk.
the log file?
Log file also same. See, the log file and the data file at the end of the day, both are going to be stored in a disk only. So data will be written to the log file also. But the log file data, the transactions that are there in the log file will be stored temporarily. So once it is written to the data file permanently, then the transaction will be wiped out from your log file.
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions, guys? Any questions, doubts? So it's mandatory to have the minimum two files. Without data file and log file, I cannot, okay, create any of the objects, guys. So database, if you are creating means by default, two files will be created. By default, when you are creating a database means by default, two files will be created. So one file will be used as a log file. Out of those two files, one will be log file. You can see here, and another one will be data file, guys. Okay. So now you can see here logical name, physical name. So this is like logical name of the database Walmart. So when you type Walmart, automatically the value will be populated here. For example, if I am typing, okay, IKEA, you can see here the value will be changed. Automatically it will be changed, guys. So I'm just adding Walmart database, okay, Walmart data file and Walmart log file. So how to identify which one is data file, which one is log file, guys? You can easily identify using the name. If you don't see any name, then you can see it's a data file. And for log files, generally it will show you, okay, underscore log. For log files, it will show you underscore log. So you can also see file type, which is data file, and the other one is log file. And guys, generally files will not exist alone. There is a dependency for files. What is the dependency? The dependency is file group. So data files, especially data files, they are going to be stored in any of the file groups. Okay, let me open one diagram. You'll get an idea, guys. So how the things will be organized physically, how the things will be organized logically, you'll get an idea. So I'm just opening one diagram. Just a minute. I'll tell you, Anjan. Just a minute, I'll tell you. Okay, can you see the diagram on my screen? Right.
Yes.
See here. So listen carefully. It's easy only, guys. No difficult thing and all. Very easy to understand. Okay. These are the internals. Sometimes maybe after like if you're appearing more than 8 years of experience and all, they might ask these kind of questions. But it's good to have some knowledge. Right. So if you see here, your SQL server internally like instance, we'll call it as an instance, collection of instances, right? And if you go inside any instance, you can see the database. The yellow color border is your database. If you go inside the database, you will have file groups and log files. If you go inside the database, you will have file groups and log files. And if you go inside the file groups, you will have data files. So that's why I told you with this combination, database is a collection of data file and log file. But these data files can't exist alone as log files. Log files doesn't belongs to any file group. That's why if you see here, log files doesn't belongs to any file group. So log file is separated. The log file architecture is separate. So log file doesn't belongs to any file group. So if you go internally, if you go inside these file groups, you will have data files. So file group is a collection of data files. File group is a collection of data files. So that's why I told you database is a collection of data files plus log file. Log file will be used for temporary storage area. Data file will be used for permanent storage area. For any database, okay, for any database. So these two files are mandatory. So that's why temporary storage area, at least two files means temporary storage is mandatory and permanent storage is also mandatory for recovery process and all. So here you can see data files, but the data files can't exist alone. Directly they can't exist. So these files will be created in any file group. So file group is nothing but a collection of data files. And if you go inside the file groups, you'll have data files. There are two types of data files. One is .mdf master data file. Second one is .ndf next data file or new data file. If you go inside any data file, again the things will be organized like this. If you go inside any data file, you can see extents. What is this, guys? Extent. That purple color one is an extent. So what is an extent? Extent is a collection of 8 data pages. So if you go inside the extent, what will be there, Shanmukh? Pages will be there. Pages will be there. Each page size is 8 KB. Each page size is 8 KB. Okay. So when you create any table at the end of the day, where the table will sit, guys? Where it will be created at the end of the day? On a
Pages.
page. On a page. On a page it will be created. When you create any table at the end of the day, the table will sit on any page. Each table one page, guys. Each table will take one page. See, this is one page, this is one page. So like that, when you are creating any table, SQL server will check, okay, this guy is creating a table. Chalo, let's allocate one page for him, for his table. So like that you can, the space will be managed, guys. This is how the space will be managed internally by the SQL server, how intelligent process it is. Why it will do like that? To manage the space properly. To manage the space properly, it will it will allocate the pages. It will allocate the pages, guys. Page is a basic storage area. Page is a basic storage unit, I can say. In the SQL server, page is a basic storage unit in the SQL server. So whenever you are creating any table, what SQL server will do, guys? What SQL server will do? It will allocate a page for your table. If your table is big, it will allocate one more page for your table. It will keep adding. If your page is not sufficient, sorry, if your table is not sufficient in one page, so SQL Server will keep adding 8 KB page to your table so that you are going to get that 8 KB page, 8 KB page, 8 KB page. Once the all 8 KB pages are filled, next what it will do? What it will do, guys? It will allocate
Next pages.
next extent. Extent is a collection of 8 pages. If all 8 pages are full, then it will allocate one more extent for you. What is the extent size? Can anyone tell me? What is the size of the extent, guys?
64 KB.
64 KB.
KB. Why 64 KB? One extent is a collection of 8 pages. Each page size is 8 KB. 8 into 8 KB, 64 KB. So if your extent is full, SQL Server will keep adding extents from the drive. In which drive you created the files. If you created these files in E drive, until there is a free space in the E drive, SQL Server will allocate 64 KB, 64 KB, 64 KB, 64 KB, like that it will use based on the usage. Is it clear, guys, everyone? How the things will be organized? This is how the things will be organized physically. In the SQL Server, we'll have databases. In the database, we'll have file groups and log files. In the file groups, we'll have data files. In the data files, we'll have extents. In the extents, we'll have pages. Page is a basic storage unit in the SQL Server. Guys, I can create only one table on a page. Page is not shareable. You cannot share the page. Shanmukh, I'll create a small table. Still, there is a free space in the page. Can I create one more table? No. SQL Server will not allow you to do that. Page is not at all shareable. Why? Because for memory management and all, page is like one table you create, one page SQL Server will allocate. Even though the table is small, it will try to utilize, it will not utilize the space anywhere. It will keep that free space for the table as it is. Why? Because you can reduce the wastage of the space, guys. If it is 8 KB page and all, you can ask Shanmukh, why 8 KB? I can go for 1 GB, 2 GB and all. So if you are creating a small table on a page, then you are going to waste a lot of storage, right? And we are going to create hundreds of tables, thousands of tables. See how much storage we are wasting. Very expensive. Storage is very expensive in the organization. One of the expensive product is your storage. So you should use very properly, and storage will also, what I can say, this architecture will also enhance the performance of the SQL Server. For example, on this table, you created an employee table on this page. Sorry, on this page, you created an employee table, guys. So when you open this employee table, when you are reading this employee table, select star from employee. For example, if this page is created for this employee, then this page will be loaded into the memory, guys. For example, this employee table is created on 100 pages. When you type select star from employee, all 100 pages will be loaded into the memory. So if the table size is big, then it will take time to load the pages into the memory. Performance issues, you will get it. So to avoid those performance issues and all, they just managed the space as 8 KB. So each page size is 8 KB and page is not shareable. One table, one page. If the table is not, if the page is not sufficient, SQL Server will add one more page to your table. If that is also not sufficient, another page, another page, another page. Like that, it will keep adding the pages to you. But in the page, if any free space is there, irrespective of the free space amount, it will not allow you to create any other table, second table into the page. So one page, one table. That's it, guys. Is it clear, everyone? Everyone, is it clear? This is how the things will be organized physically in the SQL Server databases, in the database file groups and log files, in the file groups data files, in the data files extents, in the extents pages. Page is a basic storage area. Clear, guys? Are we good? Questions, doubts?
I got a question.
Yes, please, Teddy.
If we deleted the table from those pages, so what is going to be happen to the pages? Can you
cannot see. You cannot see the pages physically. You cannot see the pages. It's not like a book page where you can tear one page and all. So not possible. You cannot delete the pages. Okay, that will not be allowed. You can delete the data by using a delete statement. Okay, up to here you can see. Up to the files you can see. You cannot see extents and pages. Up to files. If you are trying to open a file, it will not allow you. Why? Because it's not a readable format. Okay, so it will not allow you. So up to physically you can see up to files, but inside files you will have extents and pages, and also no one can delete it. There is no question of deleting the page here. Deleting page in the sense you have to delete the table. So SQL Server will deallocate. Employee table is created on 10 pages. You cannot delete that single page from that employee table. If you delete employee table, all 10 pages will be deallocated and it will be used for other table. Okay, Teddy?
Okay, I got it.
Yeah. Any other questions, guys?
Thank you.
No problem. Questions, doubts?
Like, can you add like a group file in what situation we can add?
Your voice is not clear, Charan. You want me to add a file group?
File group, yeah.
Okay.
How many file groups we can add and in
32,000.
what
That's
situation we will
32. See, 32,767 file groups we can add. 32,767 files we can add. I told you, right? The maximum is 32,767. So, good question. In what situations will add file groups or files? So, generally, I'll tell you one situation, one common situation is in the organization, the data will be stored in each file, right? So I just now we told you, we discussed, okay? This file group or the file will be stored in OneDrive, right? The file as an end product, you can see that file physically. I'll show you guys, okay? I'll show you for system databases how it will be. Control Windows plus E, this PC, C drive, program files, Microsoft SQL Server, instance root directory, MS SQL, data folder. Right. See, we have system databases, right? So for each system database, we'll have two files, master two files, model two files, MSDB two files, tempdb two files. So if you go and see here, master, this is what you can see. If you are trying to double click and open, it will be corrupted. First of all, it will not open. Somehow, if you are trying to open using some other tools and all, there is a chance of corruption, guys. So you cannot do that. So now imagine I am just creating one file. Imagine this is one database data file. This is the data file. You can see here, if you expand the type of the file, you can see which one is data file, which one is log file. Okay. For the master database, you can see here master. You can see a single component in the SSMS, but internally the master will have two files. One is master data file, you can see here, and second one is master log file. You can see the log file. Log file, the other name is also called transaction log file. Both are same, log file, transaction log file, where the log file will store the transactions. So that's why we'll call that log file as a transaction log file. Okay. So now this, what is the size of this file, guys? 4 MB, right? And where it was stored, in which drive it was stored? C drive, correct? So now how much free space is there in the C drive? Around 9 GB, something like that, 7 GB. So now imagine this file is growing. You are inserting data. You created lot of tables, inserting millions of records. Now this file is growing. Growing means where it is going to consume, guys, which space it will consume? A file in a C drive is growing means which space it is going to consume? C drive free space, right? So till what max it can grow? You can see on the screen. Till what size it can grow, guys, in the current situation, this file can grow up to how much GB? 7 GB. Right.
7 GB.
Correct, very good. Now the 7 GB, in case if it is used the 7 GB, why? Because 7 GB free space is there, so it can grow up to 7 GB. If this is full, 25 GB is full. Next what? Next Windows team will allocate 25 GB. Okay, 50 GB. Now that is also full. Windows team will allocate 100 GB. That is also full. Windows team will allocate 500 GB. That is also full. Windows team will allocate 1 TB. You are keep on inserting the data. Very big application. That is also full. Windows team allocated 2 TB. 2 terabytes. That is also full at one point after 2-3 years. Now the drive cannot grow. Beyond 2 TB, we have different types of drives, MBT, GPT partitions. So it can grow, a drive can grow up to 2 terabytes. What if your database size is 4 terabytes? Okay, in that scenario, we'll create one data file in one drive. It can grow up to max 2 TB. So the drive is full. I cannot extend. The Windows team cannot extend the storage. In this scenario, we'll add one more data file in another drive. Are you getting the point? So if that is also full, 2 TB, 2 TB, 4 TB full, one more data file you can add in another drive, another drive, another drive, another drive. Like that you can grow until operating system maximum storage, how much it is going to support, till that point you can grow. For this reason, we'll add multiple data files, guys. You are going to handle terabytes of databases. Sometimes in the interviews also, this is very common question. What is the biggest database size in your organization? Don't tell 100 GB, 200 GB and all. There is a chance that you might have a database with 100 GB, 200 GB, but it is not going to give you a good impression. Sometimes fake people, what they will do, they don't know the answer, right? They will tell 100 MB, 200 MB. That is the maximum biggest database size in their organization. If you tell 100 MB, 200, you don't know what to say. So randomly you will say one number, 100 MB, 200 MB, 1 GB, 10 GB. So there are two problems with that answer. One is there is a chance that in your organization the database size can be maximum 10 TB. I mean, so say 10 GB. There is a chance, but it will give you two impressions. One is either you are not a genuine candidate, or you don't know how to handle a big environment. In my organization, I'm handling 5 terabytes of database. Imagine on a regular basis. So if you have an experience with 10 GB, how can I believe you how you are going to handle my 5 terabytes of database? Like that, I have 10 databases. So 50 terabytes of databases. How can you are going to handle? What kind of challenges you will get it with 10 GB or 100 MB or 200 MB? So I can get an imagine if I'm an interviewer, I'll get an impression like this. Either you don't know what to answer, maybe you are a fake candidate, or you don't know how to handle a big environment. So I'll get an impression. So if anyone is asking what is the biggest database size you handle till now or in your organization, always you have to say minimum 2 TB to 5 TB. Don't tell more than 5 TB. Yes, we can create databases up to 16 TB. Up to not 16 TB, more than that also operating system maximum you can create. But 16 TB, 10 TB, if you tell means they are more like they will show more interest on how you are managing 10 TB, 15 TB, 16 TB database. So they might ask a lot of follow-up questions on that. So in every organization, general size is 2 TB to 5 TB, you can tell. Don't tell more than 5 TB. So they might ask a lot of follow-up questions, how you are taking backups, how you are managing the files. Okay, how many drives you are using. Okay, so this kind of follow-up questions you will get it. So don't tell more than 5 TB, 2 TB to 5 TB you can tell. Don't tell 100 GB, 100 MB and all. So immediately the HR will get back to you. Okay, so that kind of answer you are going to listen from the interviewer, guys. Now is it clear, Charan, on what scenarios will add multiple data files, file groups, everything?
Yeah, correct.
Are we good, guys?
Hello, Shanmugh. I have one more
Yes,
doubt.
tell me.
As you told that every page will be 8 KB and the total extent size is 64 KB.
Yes.
For example, we only need to create 8 KB. We can go with 16 KB also. It is possible. Each
Not
page
possible.
while
See,
we
that is a design that we cannot change it. Designs will never, you cannot resize the page. I want to go with a 16 KB. I want to go with a 24 KB. No. So that will be an automatic process. So when you are creating a table, automatically SQL Server will allocate a page of 8 KB, and that page you cannot resize it. Okay, so that will not allow you, even extent also you cannot resize it. By default, SQL Server will allocate a page from the extent. So here also again, if you go internally, there are two types of extents. One is mixed extent, second one is uniform extent. So what is the difference between mixed extent and uniform extent, guys? So mixed extent, all the 8 pages you can use for 8 different tables. Whereas uniform extent, all the 8 pages should belongs to a single table. You can see uniform. Uniform means all the 8 pages belongs to a single table. Whereas mixed extent means, why? Because actually I have to add one point. Slowly I'm going to add it. So I told you one point, like when you are creating a table, SQL server will allocate a page from an extent, correct? This is what we discussed. But from which extent? From which extent it will allocate? So let's add one point to this discussion. When you are creating any table, SQL server will actually allocate an extent for you. So what is an extent, guys? Extent is a basic allocation unit. Page is a basic storage unit. Extent is a basic allocation unit. Shanmukh, you only said, right, it will allocate a page. Yes. Now also the statement is true. It will allocate a page from any extent. Which extent? A page from the mixed extent. Why mixed extent? Why? Because mixed extent I can use 8 different pages to 8 different tables. Here I can store employee table. Here I can store student table. Here I can store some items table. Here I can store sales table. Here I can store fee table. Here I can store some other table, price table. So I can use each page for storing different tables. Whereas if it is uniform extent, all 8 pages should belong to a single table only. Employee, 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 employee. Why, Shanmukh? Why like that? I told you extent is a basic allocation unit. So SQL server will try to allocate a 64 KB for you. So in case if you are not using the extent, initially if it allocates 64 KB and you created an employee table or small student table, you inserted only one record. So you are going to waste remaining 7 pages. So that's why when you are creating a table, first SQL server will allocate a page from the mixed extent. So if the table is not growing, the other page can be used for other table. Okay, the subsequent, now employee table is growing. The subsequent allocations will be from uniform extents, guys. Okay, the subsequent allocations, if the table is growing, SQL server will allocate uniform extents. If the table is not, initially, when you are creating a table, it will allocate a page from the mixed extent. Then this is an interview question for more than 8 years of experience. Okay, so when you are creating a table, which extent SQL server will allocate? SQL server will allocate a page from the mixed extent to save the storage. If the table is not growing, we can limit the wastage to 8 KB only. Okay, the other pages from the mixed extent can be used for other tables. But the subsequent, once the table is created, if the table is growing, the subsequent allocations will be from the uniform extents. Will be from the uniform extent. So this is a design, guys. So design, we cannot change it. This is how they designed. You cannot resize the page to 2 KB or 16 KB or 24 KB. So the extent size and page size both are fixed, guys. So we cannot resize it. Sir, that is not allowed.
Yeah, Shanmukh, I have one more doubt. As you told now, subsequent.
Yes.
I understand mixed allocation. Whenever the
Subsequent means,
database
see,
it
you
is
created
created.
a employee table, Jameer. So you inserted 100 records. Okay, so now that page is full. So initially when you create, I told you will get it from the mixed extent, right? So now you are doing some bulk inserts. You know that you are going to insert 1 million records. So SQL server will understand that, okay, Jameer is inserting 1 million records. Chalo, we'll do one thing. So next time I don't allocate a mixed extent for him. I'll allocate uniform. Why? Because you know that 1 million records are pushed into the table. So when you are inserting huge data, so there is no meaning of allocating mixed extents, right? So it will immediately, the subsequent means the next allocations will be, the table is growing, the next allocations will be your from your uniform extent.
Thank you.
Yeah. Questions, guys? Okay.
So, if it is less than 2 DB, then we don't add the file. That is what, right?
The audio is not clear, Charan.
Right. I don't know.
Tell me, Charan. Or just type your question in the chat. can't hear you properly. Or WhatsApp is also fine, no issues. Fine. So guys, any questions? Okay. So if no questions, take a break, come back after 15 minutes, we'll discuss the other things. I'll show you how to create a database. Okay.
Hello.
Charan.
I'm audible now?
Yes, you are audible, but a little bit breaking. Tell me.
Yeah, in case, as per you said, the file group can be created only if the disk space extends to 2 TB. If it is less than 2 TB, then we don't need to add
See,
file
not
group,
like
right?
it's not like we don't need to add if it is less than 2 TB and all, nothing like that. See, you can manage the data files in a single primary file group. For the performance wise, when you create a database, by default, it will be created in the default file group that is called primary file group. So generally what we will do to improve the performance in the MDF file, we will store automatically. SQL Server will store in the MDF file. That is the first file. That is the MDF file. In the MDF file, SQL Server will store metadata of the database. Database name, database ID. Okay. So the metadata, the size of the database when it was created. So the main important things and all will be stored in the MDF file. So we'll keep it as it is. We don't insert any data in the MDF file. That is not a recommended practice, but people will not follow this one. So what we'll do, we'll add another file. In that file, we'll try to store the data. So that file we will separate from the primary file group. So primary file group will be designed for the metadata, and the data that you are inserting manually, that you can create separate file group, and you can add separate files, and you can try to insert the data into separate files. So the metadata and data, if it is separated performance wise, it is good. Okay, so it's not like whenever we are creating any new data file, we are going to create a file group. No, we can do that, but we don't do that. Okay, so metadata, will keep it in the MDF file, and primary file group is responsible for that. So now you want to separate it, metadata and user data, you want to separate it. You will create a separate file group. You will create a separate file in that file group, new file group, and the user data will be routed to the new file, which is created in the new file group. Okay. Chalo guys. Okay,
Hello.
take a yes, Jamil.
Hello, Shanmugh. Yeah, we'll come back and we can ask questions. No, it is fine for me. No
Yes.
issue.
Okay, we'll be back after 15 minutes, guys, and we'll discuss. Okay, thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Shanmugh. Bye.
No
We'll
problem.
come back.
Just tell me, Jamir. No questions? Okay, fine. So let's continue. Guys, any questions, any doubts till now? So just 2-3 points you have to remember, guys. Very important. Whenever you create any database, by default, you will get the 2 files. One is data file. Second one is log file. Log file will be used to store the data temporarily. The log file, transactions will be stored, and on irregular intervals, if the transaction is committed, so the committed transactions will go to the data file. So data file will store the data permanently. Once the transaction is committed, the committed transaction will be truncated from the log file. So the log file space will be reusable for the upcoming transactions, so that sometimes, okay, the log file will be full. So you have to understand the log file architecture clearly. In that scenario, you can easily troubleshoot log file full issues. And the organizations regularly will get this log file full. So the log file will not be reusable. So the transactions won't be truncated. So there are several reasons. Okay, like you have to take log backups, some active transactions are there. In this scenario, the log file will not be truncated. If the log file is not truncated, so the log file will be full. If the log file is full, the drive will be full. If the drive is full, log file, if no space in any of the files, the database will went into recovery pending state. Remember, if there is no free space in any of the files, if there is no free space in any of the files, if the files are not accessible, then the database will went into recovery pending state. If the database is in recovery pending state, the database won't be accessible. Are you getting the point, guys? So it is very important to clear the space, at least to create a free space for the upcoming transactions. If there is no free space in this, so the upcoming transactions cannot go and insert. The file is full already. So the upcoming transactions cannot go and insert. Like you can see, like, for example, if water is stagnated in the drainage, so it is going to like back pump, right? Again, okay, so we cannot make use of it. So that is the main reason. So if the log file is not truncating the things on a regular basis, the log file is full, then the application will not able to insert the data inside the log file. So the application also will be stopped working, guys. Okay, so that's why on a regular basis we have to shrink the log files. When you shrink it, whatever unused space is there, that unused space will be added to the drive, guys. So how to shrink and all, I'll tell you. So that is the last class. Okay, so some common things that we will do regularly in the organizations that will be discussed in the last session, guys. Okay, questions, doubts? Fine. So now let's go and create the database, guys. So Walmart database I'm creating. Owner is SCA, Walmart data file, Walmart log file. So data file I can select. By default, these things will be selected for default files. Okay. And data file will be created in the primary file group. I cannot change the file group of data file, MDF file especially. So I told you like MDF, NDF and LDF. MDF, NDF and LDF. What is this, guys? No problem, Jamil. Okay. So MDF, NDF and LDF, guys. MDF, NDF, LDF. So MDF means master data file. This is the extension .mdf, walmart.mdf. Okay. For data file. If you are adding extra data file, only one MDF we can create per database. Only one MDF per database. Okay, only one MDF per database. Master data file. So only one MDF. So if you want extra data files, the other files extensions will be .ndf. Next are new data file. We can add multiple NDFs up to 32,767 MDF files we can add. LDF, actually log file. So the extension is .ldf log data file. If you go and see here, see this is your master database data file and log file, right? So if you go and see here, right click properties, the extension, you can see MDF extension, .mdf file. And for log file, you can see .ldf extension. So whenever you create any database, MDF and LDF files will be created by default. So if you want to add extra files, then you will add next data file. So the next file extension will be NDF. Are you getting the point, guys? MDF, NDF and LDF. Good one. Those are all the extensions, guys. Extensions that will be created for the respective files. MDF is an extension of master data file. .ndf is an extension of new data file. And .ldf is an extension of transaction log file. Okay. So whenever you are creating any file, generally that file will have a small size, right? Even though you are opening a notepad and you just inserted something or you just saved it, every file will have a file size. So data file is also a file, right? So that will have a file size. Initially, you will get it with 8 MB. So you want to increase now, you can increase it. Initial size. This is the initial size. You can just keep it as 1 GB. Okay. You can just keep this as 1 GB, no issues. Right? So up to 1 GB it will be full. Right? Now, this 1 GB is completely full, guys. Now what will happen? 1 GB is completely full. I cannot come and I cannot keep on adding the space, right? Why? Because I am going to handle thousands of databases. Imagine in each server on an average 10 to 20 databases will create in the organization on an average. That can be maximum 100 databases also, 200 databases also in some servers, 500 databases also in some servers, up to 32,767 databases you can create. But on an average, 10 to 20 databases. That is the ideal count of the databases in the organizations. So if I'm having 1000 servers, 1000 into 10 databases, how many databases, guys? 10,000 databases. Each database into 2 files, 10,000 into 2, how many files? 20,000 files I have to manage on a regular basis. This is small to medium environment. If it is a big environment, 50,000 databases, 1 lakh databases also you have to handle. 1 lakh databases into 2 lakh files. So this is very common. Out of 2 lakh files or 1 lakh files or 20,000 files, daily 2-3 files are going to be full. Very common. Daily 2-3 files are going to be full. So daily we'll get data file full issue, log file full issue, guys. That is one thing. And second thing is, how can I manage 20,000 files? In case if my 1 GB is full, I cannot I cannot add the space, right, every time. I told you, right, we are not going to handle 1 or 2 files. We are going to handle thousands of data files and log files. In that scenario, if the data file or log file is full, how you are going to add the space? Very difficult. So that's why we have a concept called auto growth. Automatically, the files will grow as per the threshold. If you give 1 GB, and here in the auto growth, we have two options. Either you can go by percentage, and if you give 10%, and if you click OK, so if 1 GB is full, next time, how much space will be added, guys? Automatically?
10%.
10% of what?
1 GB.
Of 1 GB, 10% of initial size will be added to the file. So 10% of 1 GB will be 100 MB. So the next new file size is 1100 MB. 1024 plus 100, 1100 change MB. So if that is also full, again 10 more percentage, 1100, 10% of 1100, 110 MB. Again that 110 MB will be added. Next time, 10%. If that is also full, again 10% will be added. So from where it is going to add? From your C drive, in which drive the file is created from the drive. So it will add the storage automatically using auto growth option, guys. It can add in this current situation how much free space it can add. Like that, 10%, 10%, 10%, 10%, it can add up to 7 GB. Once that 7 GB is also full, why? Because free space is enough. It's completed. Then no more free space. So now you have to request Windows team, hey Windows team, please add storage to C drive to 50 GB. And again, automatically it will grow until the free space is going to be consumed. So like that, the database will grow automatically based on the data that you are inserting into the database, guys. Clear, everyone? Auto growth option, auto growth advantage, is it clear, guys?
Yes, Shanmugh.
Doubts?
Sanmukh,
Yeah.
actually, if this C drive is going to full, so we will get any alerts because it
Yeah,
is
yeah.
not
See,
possible to check
drives,
every server
yeah,
on
yeah.
daily basis.
Drives wise, files wise, we can create the alerts. Drives wise, Windows team will create SCOM alerts, SCOM alerts. File side also, we can create SQL Server alerts. So if the file is 90% full, automatically we'll get an email update. We don't wait until the file or drive is going to be full. Why? Because if the file or drive is full, to troubleshoot that, it will take minimum 30 minutes.
Hey,
Sharon, please be muted. Yeah. So it might take time in case if the drive is full to troubleshoot that issue. If Windows team is available, they will immediately add the storage. If they are not available, they will take the time. I told you, right? If any of these drives or these files are full, database will go to recovery pending state. If the database is in recovery pending state, application not accessible. So we don't wait until 100% of the storage is going to be full. We'll set up an alert of 90%. If any data file or log file reaches 90%, will immediately the DBA team immediately get an alert. That's what regular alerts you will get it in the organization on a daily basis. And so server, so database, so file, 95% full. So immediately you'll connect to that server. You don't wait until it is going to be full 100%. Immediately you'll start troubleshooting. Either you will ask Windows team to extend the storage, or we have different troubleshooting mechanisms to clear the free space and all, to reclaim the free space and all. So Yes. Okay, we'll have an alerts.
Anna,
Yes, Charan.
Anna, ఇప్పుడు as of now, like auto growth is the auto growth option is there. Then why we require to create the one more data file, that is .ndf files? Is it should be created in the another drive?
Charan, you're asking the same doubt. I told you why, what is the use of, what is the need of creating extra files when you ask the same doubt in your first attempt. So data file, data user data should be separated, metadata should be separated for performance wise. That's why we'll create a separate file. So there is no dependency of auto growth and adding extra files. There is a reason of adding extra file if the still in case in that is a recommendation that MDF file will be used to store the metadata. That is a recommendation. It's not mandatory. You can store user data also. But people will use a separate file to store the user data. That is one reason. Second reason, if the data file is full, then if the auto growth is also, now auto growth is completed. Now auto growth, whatever auto growth is there, just consumed the whole drive. And drive space is also 2 TB. Now auto growth is going to work?
No.
No. Now what you have to do if auto growth is not working, what you have to do? If auto growth is not working
Create
for that
another
file, now you got the answer, right?
end first.
Yes, we'll create another file in another drive.
Okay.
So auto growth will help you until the drive is going to be used for its maximum capacity. Once the drive is utilized till its maximum capacity, you cannot, in case if you can't extend the drive, create one more file in another drive. So that that file will grow
Okay.
until there is a free space in that drive.
Yeah. One more thing, Anna, like while we installing the SQL Server, we don't add the SA account, right? But you said in the logins, the SA will be default
See,
account, and most of the SA
it's
accounts will be.
not, wait a minute. I didn't told you like enabling SA account during installation because I want to show you later wantedly. So in the
Okay.
organization, will enable the SA account, will choose mixed authentication during the installation itself. So SA account will be enabled. And enabling SA account is not a great deal. Right click on the login, go to the properties, and you can just simply select enable. That's it. Okay, it's not a great thing. Okay, double click on the login, go to the status, you can simply enable it. That's it. Automatically SA account will be enabled. Okay. Okay, so that you
During the
can do
installation, we don't
during the installation. If you choose mixed authentication, SA will be enabled. Okay, or after installation also you can enable the SA account.
Okay.
Questions, guys?
Shanmugh?
Yes, Nicho.
Yeah, if we have multiple files, that is data files,
Correct.
NDF files, or MDF, so
Correct.
how the data is distributed to these files?
Even
Like
though
if
we have
many
very
files.
good question, even though we have multiple data files, always the data will goes to the primary file group data file only. So if you are multiple data files, we have to disable the auto growth. When you disable the auto growth, for example, I have 10 files. At a time, we'll use only one file. When we will go for 10 files? If first file is full, we'll go for second file. Second is full, third file. Third is full, fourth file. Like that, up to 10 files we'll add it. But at a time, the stream will goes to a single data file. Why? How we have to do that? If you enable all 9 files auto growth, it can't, the files are already full. Auto growth is disabled. So what it will do when you just pour some water, it will try to always travel to the downside. So it will keep checking all the files. Okay, for all these 9 files, auto growth is disabled. I cannot grow more than this. Okay, chalo, this file, the 11th file or 10th file, auto growth is not disabled. This is open for incoming transaction. So automatically the data will goes to that file. Even though multiple files, when we will get it, when we'll get the concept of multiple files, if the other files are full, then we'll add multiple files. Otherwise, there is no meaning of adding multiple data files. Okay, so in case if you have that kind of, it will allow you to add, now also I can add 100 files. But how it is going to manage the data? First, it will fill the data in the first file. Okay, until the first file is going to be full, it will use the first file only. If first file is full, it will go to second, then third, then fourth, then fifth, then sixth, like that. It is going to manage the data.
Okay, and I have one more question. Like I have seen in my organization the file group that is here it is primary, right?
Correct.
So I have seen like the file group is different. Like primary is some Walmart is a
Correct.
logical name, and file group is primary.
Correct.
So for example, the other file groups are like something else. So
Yes.
like something else, the file group name, and
Mm.
even the path file name also is different. Is it due to some particular table that I should return it to that file
I
group or something like that?
again, I can create the table on a specific file group also to organize the data in a better way, but generally 99% is people will not prefer to adding multiple data files at a time. If the data file is full, then they will add it another data file, then they will add another data file, extra data file and all. If you are having multiple data files also, in case you know that there is a big table, you know that is very big table, going forward lot of millions of records are going to be inserted in that table, then by giving a customized script, you can create a table on a specific file group. So that table will be organized in that file group. Okay, so what is the advantage? Space management. Next is data safety. Performance wise, it's good. And the other thing is, most important thing is backup. You can take a specific file group backup also you can take. Instead of going for the whole database backup, you can take specific file or file group backup also. Because of all these reasons, we can go for multiple file groups also.
Okay, so this we are mentioning something in the table to write this data to this particular file group.
We have to mention on file
How?
group, create table, table name. Okay, the table name syntax on file group you have to mention. That's why I told you customized script.
Oh, okay, yeah, got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes, yes.
Okay, I have one doubt for this one. As you told that we can limited 10 files to grow one by one. If you create the table to store the file to extend that file group separately for that exact table, as you told before that only one time one data file can extend, then how it will be work two at one time?
I'm not getting your question, Jamir.
For example, now one of the person he asked, he's having one table and he's trying to keep all the data on other data file, custom data file.
That you have to mention on file group. Okay.
But at the one time, this architecture will insert the data in only one data file, as you told before.
Okay.
How it can do parallelly, two times one, insert the data into data files.
See, when you are creating one table, you cannot create on multiple file groups, right? Can you create one table on multiple file groups? So when you are insert on one table, even though you are running multiple insert statements, we imagine you are running multiple insert statements. So for one table, employee table, which was specifically created on that particular file group. So that read operations will be performed for that specific tables on that particular file. And if you are running insert statement for another table, that read operations will be performed. One table, one file group, one file will be performed, the operations. Okay, so in case if you are creating a separate table on a specific file group, the read operations and write operations will be like performed accordingly. So not for the whole database. See, generally I'm saying, see, when you are adding multiple files, multiple tables on multiple file groups, as per the syntaxes or as per the queries that you are running, the data will be organized, Jamir. Very simple. Okay, so why I told you at a time it will allow only one in case this statement was previous question, the answer to the previous questions, not to the Niju's question. So that time when we have a single table or when we are managing multiple tables, so all tables are using same file group, then at a time it will use the same file. Okay, when you are having multiple tables on multiple file groups, it is going to organize the data accordingly.
One more doubt, as you told that we have metadata that is primary, it will store.
Yes, yes.
For example, I installed today MS SQL one data instance to one person. That is a metadata. I can create the databases that is user data. On that time, I need to create one more new.
Wait. Metadata means not SQL Server metadata. Metadata of that particular database only. Only of that particular database. Even I gave you examples also, database ID, when the database is created, how many files are there, where these files are located. That is called that particular database metadata. Okay, not SQL Server installation metadata. SQL Server installation metadata will be stored in the master database. We have a master database. The SQL Server metadata will be stored in that system database. Metadata in the sense that particular. Now I am creating Walmart. In the Walmart MDF file, Walmart metadata, only that Walmart, when I am creating, how many files while creating, when it was created, date, time, everything related to that Walmart database only, not SQL Server related installation information.
Okay, in this case, when we create the master that is completed, we need to create immediately one more MDF file.
Why immediately? Why you will create one more MDF file?
For example, now user is going to use application.
Okay.
Now he need to enter create table. Then I was thinking, for future perspective, I was thinking that I cannot merge the user data with metadata.
That's what the recommendation is. We don't need to merge user data with metadata. In that scenario, you will create another database, and in that also every database will have MDF file, right? So in that also, if you want to separate user data, create NDF file, try inserting data into that NDF file.
In this case, I need to create new file group.
Correct. You have to create.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, guys. So that is the use of the auto growth, and this is the path. So auto growth, you can just mention either in percentage, in megabytes. In some organizations, it will be in percentage. Some organizations, it will be in megabytes. So if the initial size is full, they will add either 512 MB or 1024 MB, like that. They are going to add it, or some organizations, they will add 10%, 20%. Depends upon the organization to organization. It's not a fixed thing and all. Some organizations will follow percentage auto growth. Some organizations will follow megabytes auto growth, guys. So if you want to limit the size, generally we don't limit it. It should be unlimited only. So if you want to still limit the size of the file, you can just limit it using this option, guys. If you disable the auto growth, so that file will not grow. So it will, if you are inserting, even though the auto growth is disabled and still you are inserting, so what happened, guys? If the data file is full, it will try search for the other file to insert the data automatically. The third file, fourth file, like that, it will keep inserting the data. So this is the location. If you want, you can keep it in any of the drive. So now I have only C drive. So that's why I'm just saving the files in C drive, in the program files, Microsoft SQL Server, instance root directory, inside MS SQL, inside the data folder, I am storing it. So if you don't want, in the organization, generally what we will do, it's not mandatory to have data file and log file in the same drive. Log file means lot of log operations will be performed, lot of read and write operations will be performed on the disk. So it's not a recommended practice to keep data file and log file in the same drive. So we'll keep data files in the data drive separately. We'll keep log files in the log drive separately. So log files means lot of processing and all will be done. Lot of read and write operations will be there. You can keep it, but it's not recommended practice. I can just click OK. Now you can see here data file and log file is created in a single location, same location only. I can do that, but performance wise, it's not good. So in the organizations, separate drives will be created for data files. For Walmart data files will be stored in the data drive. Walmart log file will be stored in the log drive. So E drive, F drive, D drive, E drive. So like that, we'll use different drives. Data files I'll store it in the data drive. Log files I'll store it in the log drive. I can separate it, guys. Okay, it shouldn't be in the same drive, in the same path. You can keep data file at any drive, any path. You can keep log file at any drive, any path. Clear? I'm just keeping as it is. I'm not changing the value. So options, there are a lot of options going forward. We'll get to know all these things and all. So collation settings by default, when you install the same collation, you'll get it. Recovery model, we'll discuss about the recovery model. There is a separation, compatibility level. So the databases that you are creating in 2019, they all will have a 150 compatibility level. Containment type is a separate feature. So all these things, don't need to change any of the values, keep it as it is. Multi-user, single user, so update statistics, all these things you'll get to know slowly one by one while discussing the things. So file groups, if you want to add file groups, you can add now itself, or after creating the after creating the database also, you can add file groups. At any stage, you can add file groups and files. It's not mandatory to have now itself. You can click OK now blindly. Later, after 1 day, 2 days, 1 year, 2 years, you want to add extra file group, you can add it any time. So no issue. So by default, but SQL Server will give you a primary file group for a data file. So now in this file group, we have a file, one file, guys. Can anyone tell me what is this file? What is this file?
Master
It's MDF file. MDF file. That one file is your MDF file. I can add extra file group also. Okay, I can select that default. So automatically data will go to the default file group. Okay, even though you have multiple file groups, you can select a default file group. So data will go to that particular file group, guys. So this is how. So now what I'm doing, I'm just generating a script of this database. Okay, I'll show you how to generate, guys. So whenever you do any action in this window, I told you this window is only for hours. This window is only, this GUI concept is only for R. You don't know what is the command to create a database. Then you can just right click, you can choose new database, you can give the name of the database, you can select the inputs and parameters, and you can click OK. But at the end of the day, it will generate a script, and that script will run in the back end. See what kind of script it will run. When I click OK, it will run this much big script, guys. Okay. See how much big it is. Around 83 lines, I guess. You can see here. Yeah, here you can see line 84 lines of script you have to write to create a database. Who will remember 84 lines of script, guys? So that's why we can create it easily using GUI. But GUI is only to give the inputs. Once you click OK, at the end, SQL Server will generate the script. That script will run to create the database. But using GUI, no need to remember the script. You can simply select in the GUI. Automatically the database will be selected, and then I mean to say, when you generate a script, automatically when you click OK, this script will run in the back end, which will create the Walmart database, guys. Okay, so now I'm just clicking OK, so the database will be created. I'm just clicking OK now. Right, see here. Now, in the database, when you expand the database, if it is not created, guys, again, it's always good to refresh every time. Okay, so now you can see Walmart database is created. So when you expand Walmart, again, same. You will get the database diagrams, tables, views, sectional resources, same objects you will get for every database. And if you go and see the physical location, you can see here Walmart data file, Walmart log file. I gave 1 GB size, right? 1 GB and Walmart log file. Earlier I have a free space of 7 GB. Now I created a database with 1 GB. So now if you refresh it, you can see 6 GB only. But in that file, we have a 1 GB free space. Until the free space is going to be utilized, okay, see here. Earlier it was 7 GB, 7 point something 7. Now it was 6.6. So now in this file, 1 GB free space is there. So if you are inserting, it will keep inserting up to 1 GB. If this 1 GB is full, then this file will start growing until there is a free space in the drive, guys. Same data file, log file, the concept is same, guys. Clear? So now you can see here, if you want to create a database using query, how to create the database using query, guys. Right click. You can execute this. Actually, you can execute this. So now what I'll do, Control H. I'm replacing, guys. I'll do one thing. Select Walmart. Just double click on Walmart and use Control H. You can replace Walmart with Walmart 2. Okay. I'm just generating script. Replace all. Using replace all. So 31 occurrences it's replaced. Now I can blindly execute this script. It will create Walmart 2 database. See how to execute. This is the script, right? Just parse it before executing. It will tell you whether the query is right or wrong. Okay, database does not exist. Make sure the database is corrected. Why? Because it try to change the database context in future. See, use database, use database. It will try to change it. That's why database is not existed. Like that it is saying. So now I just parsed it. So now I can execute it. Okay. See, now I'm executing this, guys. If I execute this, automatically it will create a new database. Can create because okay, files are still it is using. Okay, got it. So what we'll do, we'll try to change the files. If you double click on that, it will highlight, guys. Okay, it will highlight. If you double click on the error, it will highlight where it was. Okay, database Walmart compatibility level. Okay. So now what I can do? Why? Because here very simple concept. I changed the database name, but the files are still the same. Already in this location, the files are there. Okay. So if you have one Excel sheet with the same name, expenses in the C drive, and you are trying to create one more Excel sheet with the same name in the same location, is it going to allow? No, right? So I just created a database Walmart. When I create database Walmart, I got Walmart data file and log file. And when I'm trying to change Walmart to Walmart 2, okay, so the files are not changed. Already files are created, right? So that's why it is throwing the error. So I can simply change it to 2. If you still have any doubt where I have to change, simply remove these closed brackets and Walmart replace with Walmart 2. Just replace it. 35 occurrences it's replaced. Okay. So now you can, okay, Walmart 2 to it's added. Okay. I don't want to confuse you guys. Okay. So that's okay. That's okay. Leave it as it is. For every database, it's just added Walmart 2 to. Now I just replace it, right? So that's why. So now I can just execute it. It will still, okay, create the database and it will change the compatibility level and all. I'll tell you what is this compatibility level and all. Don't worry. So in this way, if you want to create the database using script, in this way you can create. See, just refresh it. Now you can see Walmart 22. So like this, you can do that. And we have one more simple option also. Right click new query. So when you are creating any new database, we have a command. What is that command, guys? So you have to simply run one command called, what you want to do? You want to create a new database. What you want to do, guys? Create. Okay. What you want to create? Database. What is the database name? What is the name of the database? Any database, guys. Name any database. Tell me any database name.
ABC, something.
ABC, BBC, CBC. Tell me any realistic application name. Phone pay.
Employee.
Employee kind of is a table. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Application name, you can use it as a database like phone pay, WhatsApp, Insta, YouTube, Azio, anything, Judio, Style Union, anything you can just. See, now Shanmukh, you only said to create the database, I have to write 83 lines of code, right? So now you are saying with these 3 words, I can create a database. Is it possible, guys? I didn't mention
Yes.
where it has to be. I didn't mention the data file name. I didn't mention the log file name. I didn't mention about the owner. I didn't mention the size of the files. I didn't mention about the auto growth. I didn't mention about the file groups. Can I create the database with these 3 words?
Yes.
No.
No?
No.
Yes? No? Maybe?
We can create.
Yes.
The answer is, you can see on the screen. Shanmukh, just with 3 words we created the database. Why we had a discussion of around 2 hours for this? Right? So where it was created, in which location it was created, what is the size of the auto growth, what is the size of the files? Okay, if you go and see, you can see PhonePe data file and PhonePe log file. And what about other 84 lines of script? What about other 83 lines? So all these are default parameters. So by default, if you don't mention these values, SQL Server will add these values. SQL Server will add these values And don't think when I'm running this statement, don't think only that statement will run in the back end. No, any database by default parameters will be added, guys. So the path, location, file size, file group, auto growth. See, if you remember, we used only default values, right? Earlier we just discussed, but we still used the same default values. So now also same, guys. We didn't change any of the custom values. So if you are changing custom values, you have to change the script also. But we are using all default values. So that's why we can still create the database with these three words. Clear, guys? Everyone? Is it clear, everyone?
Yes, Sharma.
Okay. So if it is clear, that's it for now. We'll connect in the evening and we'll discuss about the system databases and all. Then in the next class, we'll start creating the tables, inserting the records and all. Okay. Chalo guys, that's it for now. We'll connect in the evening, 7 p.m. IST for US people tomorrow morning, guys. Okay. Thank you, guys. Bye all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you, Sharma.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, yeah.